So it's been 5 years since I've actually shot with a DSLR. November 18th, 2017 is the last time I shot with a D500 Nikon. There are some reasons why I gave up shooting with the DSLR, mainly the noise. So what am I doing back with the DSLR? Well, I've had issues with my Canon R5. Actually had two Canon R5s. One had a line issue going through the middle of it that I had to take back immediately. The pictures and everything were absolutely, they were not, it just wouldn't work. The second was a power issue where it wouldn't wake up from hibernating. So if you guys have seen two of my videos, I've done a bird video and a deer video with the Canon R5. It's a great camera, but some small issues with the second copy that I just wasn't gonna risk, and power outage kind of thing. I had to unplug or take out the battery, restart it up once or twice, and I'm like, I'm done. No way am I gonna risk that, because it is an extremely expensive camera. That being said, the Canon 90D is fairly affordable and in a lot of ways better than the RF mount cameras. And yeah, it is about $1,100–1,200 versus $4,000. And this camera, a lot of ways, actually beats the R5 with some things. So we're going to go through some of the things I like, some of the things I dislike, and why I had to go back for this. So first of all, why would I go back to a DSLR? Well, mainly, I have a lot of big lenses. Hold on here a sec, I'll grab this. This guy. I have two 800mm lenses. This is an 800mm prime, and I have an 300 to 800mm Sigma f5.6 as well. So I have two cameras, and or I should say two lenses, 800s, and I have some 600s. That being said, it's an EF mount, Canon. So the R5 worked well on this lens with the adapter, but my Panasonics and the Micro Four Thirds have been, something's happened, firmware updates just absolutely trashed my ability to do long lenses on those cameras with the Metabones. I can't get any answers. It'd be great because there's image stabilization, but I think you get it. So that leads me to go back to Sony and put the adapter and use these lenses, which I could, it's an option, or find another way. And there's a lot of issues. There's a huge gap in Canon's wildlife photography cameras in the RF lineup, which we'll talk about here, but just know this is the main reason why it's the main reason why I'm keeping into the Canon system and that. And I actually like Canon, but some of the shenanigans they pull. So let's get into this. There's a huge gap performance-wise with the RF mount. There's the RP, which is $1,000, which doesn't get you much. It gets you 24 megapixels, full frame. The 4K is heavily cropped. It's probably a little bit lower on the bit rate. The dual pixel autofocus might be probably a little slower. And the EOS R is kind of the same. Ergonomics doesn't have a lot of buttons, and it doesn't have image stabilization. They really don't have silent shutter mode. I think there's like, you can take one picture in silent shutter mode with the RP and EOS R. It's not until you get the R5 and R6 that it's fully electronic shutter, multiple photos in manual mode. So there's a huge gap. RP is $1,000, R5 is $3,800 to $4,000. This, again, is $1,100–1,200, and it's 32 megapixels. So here's the situation. The R5 is 600mm lens. If you have a 600mm lens on it, it's 45 megapixels. All right, but if you want to go out to 960 millimeters, like you can with this with a 600mm, because it's a 1.6 crop, you get 18 megapixels. On the RP, it's like 7 megapixels. On this, it's 32 megapixels. So I'm almost getting twice the resolution with a 600mm lens, equivalent 960 millimeter equivalent focal length, with this $1,100 camera than a $4,000 camera. Now here's some of the things I dislike about this camera. So one is the noise. It can be kind of loud, and you can hear it. That scares animals. that does scare animals, and there's nothing you can do about it. The other thing is the lack of in-body stabilization. Now, people say, well, you know, all DSLRs don't have image stabilization, but the Pentax has had it since 2006. So it's totally possible it's companies refusing to do that. In fact, the in-body stabilization is not done until you hit R5, R6 and above cameras in that price tag of $2,600, $2,700, all the way up to $6,000. So, two of the things I dislike, but if I look at the build quality and the flip out screens and all this, it's actually, I feel like it's actually better than the R5 build quality. And definitely the RPs. It's got buttons everywhere, ergonomics wise. It has jacks, weather sealing. It feels tougher in the hand, better grip. Yeah, it has everything you kind of are used to. And RP doesn't necessarily have it R until you get to the R5, but even then, I kind of feel like this still beats it. So, buffer size, the other cameras, outside of the higher ends, R5s, R6, RPs, Rs, this has 50-60 JPEGs, 10 frames a second. Uses dual pixel autofocus, which it's fast, but it seems faster than the lower range RF mount cameras, in addition to no crop on your 4K video. Dual pixel autofocus, 4K, fast, no crop. You can put crop in it if you want, which it looks nice, but these other cameras have, let's say, you know, 1.8 crop or something like that on their camera, and it just doesn't make sense. So the only thing Canon forces you, if you want a lot of extra goodies to equal this, you have to jump up triple the price, which is, it's kind of consumer unfriendly, but that's the way Canon wants to roll. And that's the position where I've kind of come in. So I don't miss really anything much from the Canon, you know, the R5 to this. Silent, in-body stabilization, everything else. The battery life is better on this sheet, about 800 shots versus 300 or 400. The size, the LCD, the EVF, or optical viewfinder, the Canon EVF R5 is beautiful to look at, but still, you know what? Using an optical viewfinder, my manual focus keepers are a lot better. It's almost like double. For some reason, that focus peaking on the EVS isn't quite as accurate as you would think. Now, this is coming back. I've noticed it. This is totally, I picked up a manual lens and started nailing manual focus with this a lot easier than a lot of the mirrorless cameras. That being said, I just feel that this is a lot tougher camera than a lot of these, you know, electronics just baked into this very small bodies. They have a tendency to overheat, as we know, and that. But that's it, guys. Let me know what you think. Kind of going back in time, going with the DSLR for maybe the next, you know, 2 months, 2 years, who knows. If Canon comes out with a better wildlife camera, okay, in the RF mount, because I still have an 800 millimeter and 600 millimeter f11 RF mount lens that are f11s or so, and stuff like that. But the way their lineup is set now, you have to pay through the nose to get something that is the same performance from a much less expensive camera. And yeah, that's where we're at with the tech. And, you know, we look at, let's say, Canon's R5, the R3, you're starting to get $5,500. You're starting to get way up there. You're starting to talk medium format, serious 100 megapixels that can do a lot of different stuff. And what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? That's not a wild. You can adapt lenses, let's say on a Fuji, 100 megapixels and get 600 megapixels full frame or 60 megapixels full frame at 600 millimeter. I mean, you can do product photography, you can do all kinds of things, great landscape, because you get another 55 megapixels of resolution and in-body stabilization as well. So when you're pushing people up in the $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, now you're talking, that opens up a lot of the world to do whatever you want. The issue with Canon is they're not playing down at the bottom end because they want to force everybody up into those realms. That being said, I want to know your guys' feedback on this. If you have any questions about the 90D, just ask. I'll put it in there because I know I've left a ton of information out there. Just in the experience of messing with this camera and shooting, it's plenty good for just about everybody out there. I mean, autofocus might be slightly slower than the other systems. Okay, but other than that, I do not notice very much from the R5. That's it, guys. Write questions down below, and I will see you next week.